Okay, so pardon my hair. I did a lot of Peloton today and I did it with my hair down. So it's just a little crazy. So my apologies if that bothers you. We're almost done with Vlogmas. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of ready for that because this is like a lot of work. Today we're talking about what I learned from 2020. I thought this was a video, this is a video that's been on my mind for kind of a long time at this point, or it just feels like a long time, but it was something that it occurred to me in a couple of different ways, and it was one of those things where in an effort to not repeat some of the lessons, I kind of crystallized what they were, you know, but also just to not totally throw away the year, what good and bad came of it. And so I thought I would dedicate a video to it because I know I'm not the only person that's learned stuff this year, but also just to kind of get you thinking maybe too, if you're goal setting for next year, if you're planning, I don't know what your life is like, but like whatever you do to prep for the next year, I always like to take stock of the year that is wrapping up. I tend to like to do it in these like last days. My friend Beth calls it Twixtmas, and that kind of phase between Christmas and New Year's when like, I call it adult spring break, like nobody knows what day it is, what time it is, or anything like that. So let's talk about tingling is that. So to keep it positive, or to start off positive, I would say the first thing I'm grateful for and the first like kind of lesson that I've really learned is it really does matter who you're in the foxhole with. Of course, the year we've seen people break up, get divorced, you've seen like the Rona babies and all of that, but you've also seen the opposite of it. And I think something that I'm just really incredibly thankful for is that I got it right this time, you know? Like, I'm so thankful that I got it right. But that at least if we have to go through this pandemic, and to the degree that we've really, you know, like we're high risk, so like we haven't gone and done, and we haven't taken a trip, and we haven't done this, and we haven't done that, and our life has been so incredibly impacted by, I mean, like it's basically totally been flipped upside down. And to put that kind of pressure out of nowhere on us and totally change our normal, and keep in mind that there's just like, there's a lot of not saying. I am just incredibly, limitlessly thankful that if I had to go through this with somebody, I went through it with Jeremy. And he's really, we are so like opposite in so many, we're so opposite in our skill sets and in our just what our strengths are. And there's this Chris Rock thing about he has this bit in his stand-up show called Tambourine on Netflix. If you haven't watched it, you should totally watch it. But he talks about like, don't compete, and sometimes your job is just to play a tambourine. And when that's your job, like everybody's got a role to play in the band, and sometimes yours is to play tambourine. So you play that motherfucking tambourine. And, you know, I don't know if it's just who we are as people or what, but like, I think it's who we are as people, because I can't think of a time I ever competed in a relationship with anybody. But I'm so thankful that we're as compatible as we are, and that we haven't had, like, all of the struggles that we've had, they're not because of us, you know, they're not because like we're fighting or whatever. Like there hasn't been any of that. And that is incredible when you think about the fact like what we're used to is completely gone. And the amount of unknown and burden and how do I say this correctly? Lack of trust, uncertainty, scariness. There's been a lot of things that we just kind of had to like hold on and ride out. And the fact that we did it as well as we did it as a couple, I think is really incredible. So I think the first thing I would, definitely the first thing I would say is that I'm just incredibly thankful that I got it right. And this was a great test of what we're capable of. Not necessarily a lesson, but I was reminded of my resourcefulness. We had, this ties into my third one, the first, I'd say 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, we had food scarcity. So not that we couldn't afford food, it's just that they didn't have any. Like, it was really hard to find groceries around here, and especially considering we couldn't go in. So like that was just really tough. And so I remember just that weird feeling of like, you know, and so finding services and finding people and like networks and like social media was hugely helpful. But also like it taught me not to trust anybody and rely on anybody really, you know? So I started growing food. And so out of 2020 came this love for gardening. And from there comes a way to create beauty in a way I hadn't done before, and to create food. You know, I've never grown food before. So it was definitely something that I had not anticipated doing. But I'm so, in a way, excited and thankful that I got the chance to do it. And I did it in circumstances that were like impossible. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing. It was nothing. You couldn't buy starts. You couldn't find soil. You couldn't find anything. So I was just like taking whatever I could get, and somehow I managed to make it work. And that, I'm really, really thankful for just what I'm capable of, because I managed to do that. And knowing that I can do that in those circumstances, and then kind of developing those skills as time goes on, just makes you feel more and more confident that as time passes and you get better and develop and harness your skills and you sharpen the tools and all that kind of stuff, you're just going to get better at providing and creating and all of that. And that was such a great thing to discover. And I really am so thankful for that. It was a really beautiful way to show myself that I could create beauty in a way that wasn't makeup, you know? Because you gotta keep in mind, I've done makeup forever. So just have a totally different palette and canvas and paints and art, and all my tools are different, but it's so fulfilling. That's really great. That was a great lesson to learn. Some of the like less great things we've learned this year. How low the bar is. Just, I saw a great meme. I think Jeremy sent it to me a while back, and it was like, so basically what we've all learned is that if this was the zombie apocalypse, we'd all be zombies in 2 weeks. And that's so true, where it's just like, God, it felt like nobody was doing what they needed to do. And it still feels like that. And that's just been really tough, right? Because you just, like, I hate what it does to healthcare workers. I hate what it does to like everybody on the front line. I hate what grocery stores and coffee shops and people that like are not doing jobs that you would think would put them on the receiving end of just like screaming fits, and people trying to like, you know, get them so sick and everything. And it's just crazy to me. It's just crazy to me. And so that was a horrible lesson to learn. It's just how selfish and greedy and manipulative and completely incapable of humility and empathy it feels like so many people are. This year has just been just a total dumpster fire for so many reasons. But I think far and away the most important thing, not just that I've learned, but that I've noticed through the lack of other people doing it. It's just how important it is to be a good person. Like, it's just so important to respect other people. And the notion of why you're doing certain things, you know, really taking a moment to evaluate your decision making. And are you in fact making the right decision, or are you just making the decision you want to make and you're going to frame it in a way that makes it okay for you? That's a big one. I can tell you for certain, next year I've learned a lot this year, you know, like I've learned the impact of how much daily activity had on my metabolism, because oh my god, errands, not doing them have padded me out a little bit. But next year I've got plans. I've already started. Again, I didn't want this to be a terribly long video. I just wanted to kind of as succinctly as possible comment on 2020 in just a somewhat positive, but mostly just, I mean, it was a shit show for everybody, so like, including myself. Just a really matter of fact way as well. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. I will see y'all tomorrow. Bye.